Hi guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the China chapter in Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. China has been a major power, just not naval power. Their land is immense and that is their power, with a population of over 1.4 billion and being the most densely populated area in the world. The Shang dynasty introduced the Han. The Han dominate the politics and business of China. The heartland is towards the center of China's land. It is the most political, cultural, and demographic agricultural center of China. It is also the most densely populated area. Confucius introduced the philosophy that Chinese identity is apart from the populations around them. When China opens up, the coastline regions prosper, but the inland areas are neglected. The prosperity engaged by trade has made coastal cities such as Shanghai wealthy, but that wealth has not been reaching the countryside. This has added to the massive influx of people into urban areas and accentuated regional differences. One important area of China is called Xinjiang. This is just a part of China, but it can fit the UK, France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, and still have room for Luxembourg. Xinjiang is a region highly populated by Muslims, which is a perennial source of instability in China. The imperial powers arrived, the British among them, and carved the countries up into. It was and is the greatest humiliation the Chinese suffered since the Mongol invasions. The Japanese invaded China. However, in 1937, due to Japan's World War II surrender, they had to pull out. Although the Western wished democracy in China, the communists won the nationalist versus communist debates. When Communist Mao got control, he got to work. Mao centralized power to an extent never seen in previous dynasties. He blocked Russian influence in Inner Mongolia and extended Beijing's influence into Mongolia. In 1951, China annexed Tibet, another vast non-Han territory, and by then Chinese school textbook maps began to depict China as stretching even into the Central Asian republics. The country had been put back together. Mao would spend the rest of his life ensuring it stayed that way and consolidating Communist Party control in every facet of life, but turning away from much of the outside world. The country remained desperately poor, especially away from the coastal areas, but unified. Tim Marshall then goes into the geographical features of China. To the north, the Gobi Desert border with Mongolia. The desert shows supply lines, and it is too much distance and it is too flat, which is an early warning system Kum defensive line. It also contains a lot of minerals and resources, incentivizing Han to move in. To the east, there is the Chinese border with Russia, mountains, and Manchuria, which contains 100 million people. To the south, China's Yellow, East China, and South China Seas, all leading to the Pacific and the Indian Oceans. These contain good harbors, trade, and it also has land borders with Laos, Vietnam, and Burma. However, Marshall describes a complicated relationship between the two that both would not pursue war. Laos has a hilly jungle between their border, which keeps both protected from each other. Tibet. The Himalayas protect India and China from each other because they are both powerful countries with little trade between them. The Chinese built the impossible railway going from central China to ancient Tibet. Multiple times every day, it brings in and out consumer goods, tourists, and Han settlers. It also exports Tibet goods. However, with the Han moving into the Tibet area, it makes Tibetans the minority in their own land. Because of this, the Tibet resent the Han, and there is a lot of instability between them in the area. To the west, the Uyghur, and also the Stans. The southeast of the Kazakh border is a resistive semi-autonomous Chinese province of Xinjiang, as we mentioned before, and its native Muslim population of the Uyghur people, who speak a language related to Turkish. Xinjiang borders 8 countries: Russia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. It is hard for the Uyghur to get their justice because although there is a World Uyghur Congress based in Germany. Hey guys, quick change in cameras. So you might be wondering, why are they so harsh in Xinjiang and Tibet? Well, here's why. China will not cede this territory, and as in Tibet, the window for independence is closing. Both are buffer zones. One is a major land trade route, and crucially, both offer markets, albeit with limited income, for an economy that must keep producing and selling goods if China is to continue to grow and prevent mass unemployment. Failure to do so would likely lead to the widespread civil disorder threatening the control of the Communist Party and the unity of China. There are similar reasons for this party's resistance to democracy and individual rights. If the population were to be given a free vote, the unity of the Han might begin to crack, or more likely, the countryside and urban areas would come into conflict. That in turn would embolden the people of the buffer zones, further weakening China. There are around 500 protests across China every single day. This is why China has to keep everything in check, even if it comes at a cost of playing the bad cop. Plus, if you introduce mass unemployment and mass hunger, that tally will become explosive, both in number and degree of force. This is why China has always used the bargaining, "We'll make the stuff for cheap, and you buy it for cheap." However, this is not working to their advantage anymore, because their labor costs are being rivaled by Thailand and Indonesia. Marshall now begins explaining why China is building up their navy. What would happen if the resources required to make the stuff dried up? If someone else got them first? Or if there was a naval blockade of your goods, in and out? Well, for that, you'd need a navy. China is building a green water and a blue water navy. A green water navy controls the maritime borders, and a blue water navy patrols the oceans. This is the South China Sea dispute. China claims almost the entire South China Sea and the energy supplies believed to be beneath it. China claims almost the entire South China Sea and the energy supplies believed to be beneath it as its own. However, Malaysia, Taiwan, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Brunei also have territorial claims against China and one another. For example, the Philippines and China argue bitterly over the Mischief Islands, a large reef in the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea, which one day could live up to their name. Every one of the hundreds of disputed atolls and sometimes just rocks poking out of the water could be turned into a diplomatic crisis, as surrounding each rock is a potential dispute about fishing zones, exploration rights, and sovereignty. Clearly, Chinese diplomacy will be crucial. They will have to be careful of mass and long-term unemployment and food and water insecurity, or else there will be inevitable social unrest for who knows how long. This was my summary of the Chinese chapter of Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. I hope this was helpful and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!